This past week was Student Sunday, and we had the privilege to have our youth and some of our college students lead us in worship. Chloe McDevitt was the one that preached, and Scott and I had the honor and privilege to have her on the podcast, and we're just so excited to have one of our very own youth join us today. So here you go. Hi, Chloe. How'd you feel about yesterday?
I thought it went pretty good, the second service. Because the first one was a little iffy, but it doesn't matter because the second one's the only one that's like people rehear, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little crazy to think that your voice is out there.
I know.
On the internet.
And we're adding to it.
It's on the podcast, on the website.
Well, it's not like I don't have like an Instagram account.
That's
like I
true.
post my. I mean, I don't know if I've ever talked on Instagram.
Yeah, it's just photos.
Yeah.
Not tons of videos, at least not like that you post, like
No.
reels. Yeah. So this is something your children, your grandchildren can hear. A young
No, that
Chloe
gets me nervous. I'm always thinking like before I like. I mean, I guess it's a good thing. Before I post something, I'm just like, what if I'm like applying for a job and they're like, oh, look at this picture you posted.
There you go. And I'm glad that you have that discernment because a lot of people do not. I can name a few, but I won't.
True.
It's not my place. But I had a few questions for you just in case some of the people don't know you. How long have you been going to FUMC and how'd you end up here?
I think I've been going since Vacation Bible School. Just like I think I started around like second grade. And then I think Miss Lois kind of, when she used to work here and stuff, she kind of dragged my sisters and I into Wednesday nights.
Okay.
And then in maybe it was like 4th or 5th grade, we had Roots, which was where some of the kids got like partnered with like an adult or like a older person. I don't want to say that, but
You can say older person. They weren't younger.
the other people in the congregation who are mature.
Uh-huh.
And I met Joanna because,
Nice.
I don't know, we just got not partnered together, but like our leaders, I guess, were friends and they like, I don't know, got us together.
Yeah.
And then Joanna went to youth group and stuff and she was friends with the other kids. And I was like, oh, I want to do that too. And so I think it kind of like started. We had a trip. It was MWA in 6th grade with Sean. And I think I realized like I want to be more than just, I want to do more than just go to youth group. And I want to like go to church and stuff. And I brought my mom with me and stuff. And she started to like it. So Madison came and stuff. And we're still working on my sister, but yeah.
Your other sister.
My other sister.
Yeah. No, that's great. So you mentioned in your sermon talking about doubts and being in a season of doubts. And I was curious, what part of God or what belief of God were you doubting in that season?
I think I was mostly doubting, like, I've always heard people tell me that God will always be there for me, but it was kind of, like, hard to see that, like, through a lot of things that, like, happened, like, in that season. And so it was just, like, if God cares me so much, how come he does this stuff for me or to me?
Or allow certain things to happen?
Been there before, for sure.
When was the last time you doubted God on something, Scott?
Oh, the last time?
Or last one you can think of?
I mean, on a serious note, though, sometimes it's hard for me not to doubt, or sometimes I doubt about God's goodness when I see things happening to people I love around me. For instance, Meg has LGMD, limb-girdle muscular dystrophy, and as that continues to progress and she physically gets weaker and can't do as much as she used to be able to, I understand, I know, I trust, I believe that God is always with us and he does walk through us, and there's no way we could be where we are right now in the midst of it without him. But sometimes it makes me wonder, it makes me question. And so it's not necessarily doubting his goodness, but doubting his purpose in it sometimes.
I don't know, with some of the bigger stuff, it's easier for me to like trust and have faith. It's times where like I lose my patience very quickly, and I doubt that, like, God, you really want me to be a pastor and reflect you into the world when, like, someone cutting me off in traffic, I'm, like, ready to slash their tires and, like, run away and be on the run in international waters. Like, that's a situation that goes through my head every once in a while. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't think that's what Jesus, how his reaction would be and how I should handle things. And then it's like, you want me to reflect you in this world when I'm so, like, quick to go to these extremes in my head only so far.
Thanks for that clarification.
Yep. I'm just, there's no warrants. It's humbling, scary, doubt, like, does he really know what he's doing if I was his best option for where he's put me? That's where I doubt more often, I would say. Chloe, you had talked about how prayer has helped you, especially in calming those thoughts and ideas, and I was curious if you noticed, like, a specific time or situation where you felt that switch, where you were doubting that about God, and then you kind of felt like, oh, I don't need to doubt that he's with me.
I think it really helps when you're actively trying to be closer with God, rather than just being like, God, why don't you hear me or see me? And you're not, like, reading the Bible every day or anything like that. I think when my prayers were outside and, like, quiet, because I think I connect with God in nature the best. Just sitting outside when it's, I mean, it could be loud, I guess, but I think, like, the quiet and stuff, and just, like, admiring what he's made, seeing everything that he made, and thinking that he would be, if he's so horrible, how did he make this? And he's not horrible. And that he makes beautiful things, but it's not like nature is perfect. There's storms and stuff, and there's, like, hurricanes and all of that. But it's still, like, obviously the world hasn't collapsed. So there's still some good in there somewhere. Yeah. So when there's, like, bad times, it, you know, there's, like, rain. When there's rain, there's, like, a rainbow afterwards sometimes. So.
Yeah. And we need the rain for things to grow and
right.
for things to, you know, even if we don't necessarily like it.
I think worshiping is one of the areas for me that helps so much. Just kind of in similar ways to what Chloe was saying about being in nature, but reminding myself and remembering who God is and who he says he is. And that comes, you know, sometimes through the words of Scripture, but sometimes it's just in singing a song and reminding myself and trusting that that is true, and remembering that that is true, more than necessarily whatever I'm feeling in the moment. What about you, Jeremy?
It just makes me think with what Chloe was saying about how, well, I'll ask either of you, do either of you guys know, like, what stage the moon is in right now? Like, is it closer to full?
I know that it's close to full because my room has been very bright at night.
I have
like,
no idea.
The moon is, like, right there, and my window's, like, right in, and it's always, like, I turn off my lights, and I'm like, oh, wow. Like, it's, like, really bright out.
Yeah, so has that been more recent, so you think it's closer to a full moon?
I think it's closer to, I think it's called, like, the waning phase, when it starts getting, like...
Like it's already been full. And
yeah, it's been full, and now it's getting darker, and it's going to go back to, like, the beginning.
And that's what I was curious, because I haven't noticed... Maybe we're just old, so we don't notice these things anymore, and we don't have it shining right in our rooms. Because I have blackout curtains because I lived like 12 years in a basement growing up. Like, that's where my room was, so I just need the pitch black like a vampire to sleep. But the reason why I ask is because when we're talking about, like, the difference is almost like in how we're viewing other things in our faith and life and how we interact with them can drastically change based off how close we feel we are to God. And so it's like, I think of the moon, and where the moon is really, really small and from my perspective and very, very far away, but if the moon was much closer, it would be much, much bigger, right? And it would be drastically different, and it would reflect the sun even brighter the closer it was. And so it's one of those things where the moon hasn't changed in its size or shape or its grandioseness or its power or weight or whatever it might be, but my proximity to it changes how I view it. And so that's how I think it can be with God, where people, the more they distance themselves from God, may not think of him as being as great and grand and wonderful, but that doesn't change who he is, and the closer they get to him, the bigger he will seem, and the more they'll see how involved he is in everything and all of that. But for me, it's whatever brings me to that perspective, so it can be in his word and worship and nature, just sitting with Theo and Rebecca, just playing with Theo. It's the best. Yeah, there's times it's just, changing a diaper, putting him to bed, and trying not to cry, because just so blessed to have that cute little baby boy. Yeah.
So for the record, Chloe was spot on.
Waning.
Right now, the moon has just entered into the waning gibbous phase.
So if you're ever curious about where the moon's at, contact your local Chloe McDevitt.
I still kind of remember a little bit from 6th grade science.
Yeah.
Got cut short, but because I was right COVID year.
Wow, you're in 6th grade.
I'd say this is gonna
Makes me feel so old.
You are. Yeah.
I know.
Your shoulder doesn't do that for you.
I know. Leave me alone.
Oh, okay. No,
really disappointing.
What?
I found a white eyebrow hair this morning.
Oh, I'm keeping that in.
But one of the things I was thinking about as you were preaching is we tend to think about doubt and faith kind of as opposites, right? We either feel like we have doubts or we have faith. But is there ever a time, can the two coexist together? Can you have faith and have doubt at the same time? Or do you think it's either one or the other? Or can there be a blending of the two?
I would say there can be a blending of two, because, I actually think from confirmation class, actually.
Yeah.
We kind of went over that, and we were talking about how you can trust fully in God, and you can want to follow him and stuff, but it's not like I fully believe that the earth is round, but it's not like I have some questions, how is it round, or stuff like that. You can have questions, but doesn't mean that you don't fully trust in him.
Mm-hmm. You must have had a really good teacher for confirmation class.
Okay. From being a listener of the podcast, what can we change? What should we do different? What can we...
It's nice to hear other people, or younger people.
Yeah.
She started here. Pastor Scott used to listen to me on Sunday mornings and on the podcast.
I understand. Imagine working with him.
Or just other people who have different roles in the church.
Yeah.
If you're interested in being a guest on our podcast, if there's a certain sermon where it jumps out to you, you've got some questions.
And you're available preferably on a Monday or Tuesday.
Or, we could even do it Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening.
Either way, if you're interested in joining us on the podcast, please reach out to us via emails that are on the website, the church website, and...
because we really do want it to be a conversation.
Yeah.
And not just between Jeremy and I.
No.
There's a lot of people out there who have really good questions, but not just questions, really good thoughts.
Yeah.
And can, really add to the conversation.
Yeah.
So.
And we're hoping to have a couple interviews with some people that have visited our church coming out while we're away in Mexico.
Secret worshipers.
But so we did have some people that have worshipped with us that did not worship with the intention of spying on us or taking down notes, but I wanted us to get...
They came because they were invited by somebody.
They were invited by somebody, which surprisingly works.
Yeah.
So keep it up. They've been willing to join us on a podcast soon to discuss what it was like and what their experience was like as a person that's unchurched to walk through these doors, because I feel like we have a very different perspective because we're in it all the time, right? You've been going to church for how many years now? 3?
6
Yeah.
7.
I think it's so important that we hear their perspectives, not always necessarily to change what we're doing if they dislike something, but to acknowledge what someone else that hasn't grown up in church experiences, and how we can better navigate and engage them and welcome them in and make it a little less different. Because one of the things that really stuck with me was listening to some podcast of some youth pastor podcast, and they had a new kid come in and he's like, I liked everything except the karaoke part was a little weird. And I was like, karaoke?
Singing?
And he was like, yeah, like they threw the words up on the TV and we sung along to the words that were on the TV. I was like, oh yeah, that's the only other time that people are singing words off of a screen is karaoke. And so for someone from outside the church, it's like, yeah, the karaoke was interesting. Group karaoke. Because back in the day, it was all hymn book. So you always open the hymn book to a certain number and you'd follow along there. And that would be more normal for like choir people and people that are musically trained, but just off of a screen or a TV is more related to karaoke. And so I think it's those kind of perspectives that doesn't mean we're not going to project our words on the screen, but just to be like, it's not as normal for other people as it is for us.
But it doesn't take long. Now you feel like you're part of the church. You're up leading in front of the church. On Sunday, you're going to be confirmed and join the church.
Woohoo!
And your mom is going to join the church.
Hey!
That's exciting. Because
That's really exciting.
it doesn't you don't have to be in church your whole life to decide to become a member. You don't have to.
What?
You don't. But God's still working, and He's still bringing people in and making them a part of the family.
Absolutely. And so, Chloe, we'll close out. I'm thinking just like, what's a problem you see happening with your age group in general that you think could use prayer?
Maybe like taking stuff like seriously. I would think. I think a lot of times it's just like, haha, I'm here to see my friends. But like, although that's true and stuff, like I come see my friends too. I wish that we could have more times where we can like be serious and like, I guess like vulnerable with each other.
Yeah.
Almost.
At this point in your life, is it easier or harder to walk with Jesus during the summer compared to the school year?
I think it's way easier in the summer.
Okay.
For me, I think it's easier in the summer because during the school year, like all my time's taken up because I have school and then I go straight to dance and then I just go home, do my homework, and then I go to bed because it's like 11:30 by then.
Oh, jeez.
And then, some people say like wake up early in the morning and like spend time with God then, but like when you go to bed, when you get home at like late, you have to take a shower, you gotta do your homework, you have to eat dinner, you should do all this. And I mean, maybe I'm just like lazy, but I don't really feel like getting up at like 5:30.
Yeah. Also not a morning person. So.
And in the summer, I mean, I don't have school, which is like 8 hours out of my day. I have so much free time. I think that the summer is a lot of times you can connect with friends. And also, I mean, you have so much free time. Like, why not, just open your Bible or anything?
Yeah.
And it's also a great time to share with people because it's not like you're going to see them tomorrow. You don't go to school with them the next day or public school, I guess. Like, if I told someone something, I'm going to see them next day and for the whole week and actually until, like, I'm finished high school.
So when you get together, then you actually like catch up because it's been a while, which is nice. Yeah.
So I think we can be praying for our youth this summer that they take advantage of all that extra time they have to really focus in on Jesus and grow in their walk.
Like hearing all the behind the scenes and everything.
Yeah. Well, that's our conversation for today. But that doesn't mean the conversation is over. We'd love to hear your thoughts on these topics as well. To ask a question about anything we've discussed in this episode or to join the conversation, you can head over to fumccollingswood.org/podcast. Thanks for being part of this conversation.